Monique Lewis is founder of At the Inkwell, a New York City-based supporter of published writers through featured articles, book reviews, and a reading series in San Francisco and New York. Her writing has been featured in Fuse Society. She's an editor for Merger Market, a global online financial news service. Monique just moved to Denver, but she felt so strongly about this show that she is here tonight to read her piece. I'm listening now.
My dad only contacts me on my birthday. It is usually a text that says, "Hey big girl, happy birthday," sometimes the timestamp of when I was born, and I'll always be his baby. The first time he did this, I didn't respond, nor the second time, and not the third time. The fourth year, I replied, "Thank you." I had wanted to wish him Happy Father's Day just 2 weeks before, but I didn't know what those words would mean today. "Why did you leave?" I finally asked when I decided to call him after he sent the annual birthday text in 2012. He shrugged it off and said he'd tell me someday. Growing up, I was used to my dad disappearing for weeks at a time. He would leave all of his personal belongings behind. Even his immediate family wouldn't know where he was. Those weeks turned to months, months turned to years. I used to count the days he would be gone. The older I got, the longer he stayed away. My parents fought, and I was ashamed to tell friends at school whenever they asked me where my dad was. Each time he came back, my two brothers and I welcomed him as if he'd been away on a business trip. We played this game for 12 years, even after my parents remarried each other. The last time I saw my father, it was the 4th of July weekend in 2008, when I was visiting home in Denver, Colorado. I snapped pictures of my parents smiling. We had lunch before they dropped me off at the airport to catch a flight back to New York, and my father said he was proud of my accomplishments. I didn't catch the deep sadness in his eyes until staring back at that picture years later. When my parents returned from a cruise in December of the same year, my mom said my dad kissed her on the cheek and said goodbye before he left for work in the morning. He never came back. I went through periods of uncontrollable crying. At times, I blamed my mom for repeatedly taking him back. I blamed her for the pain. I blamed him too. "We don't throw people away," my mom explained. But I did throw my father away. I hid all pictures of him in my apartment. I didn't understand him. I didn't know how to understand him until my mom began to share more of his history. A secret pain my father never exposed to me and my brothers, although it was right in front of us. He loved to tell stories and joke around with us 1 minute, but it didn't take much to set him off in a fit of rage. My father once told my mother about a panic attack that was so severe he went to the hospital. They wanted to commit him and he ran. Bipolar disorder is characterized by the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders as bouts of manic and depressive episodes. I was 30 years old when my mom told me my dad was bipolar. I was both shocked and, for the first time, sorry for him. I wanted to call him, but what would I say? How could I talk to him about a mental illness he never spoke of? Why did he hide it for so long? Why wasn't I told sooner? I replayed a series of events in my head. Each time that I acted out or gave my dad grief, did it send him into one of those episodes? Even at 30, I wondered like a small child if his disappearances were my fault, my mom's fault, or my brother's. The next time he texted on my birthday, I wanted to get him to talk about it. I wanted him to seek help I knew he wasn't getting. Perhaps everything could have been different over the years. But how do you tell a parent they need help? How do you convey this without hurting their feelings or making them shut down? I was more than 3,000 miles away and hadn't seen him in 4 years. "Why did you leave?" I asked. A long sigh passed over the phone from his end. "I knew you would be the one to ask me that," he said. "Someday," my father said. Nearly 4 more years have gone by, and I'm still waiting for someday. But not for the reasons I used to. I'm waiting for my father to feel like smiling again, to feel confident, to know his family still loves him, to know for himself that he is lovable. This past March, I wished my father happy birthday for the first time since he left in 2008. He was ecstatic and said he receives updates about me from relatives on Facebook. He must know I'm moving home to Colorado soon. I still haven't told him yet. When we meet, will we talk about the painful truth, or will we still be holding on to someday? I can't control my father's decisions for his health, but I can still love him. I imagine sitting with him at lunch like the last time we saw each other and showing him that his daughter still loves him very much. Sometimes that support is enough to steer a person in the right direction. Thank you.